Hi, I'm Milena. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to August TBR board. Today I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm not only going to play TBR board, but I'm also going to match them to the magical readathon. I got this very cute t-shirt, which was made by Book Rose. What I'm going to do is just do the usual roles of the TBR board, and then at the end of this video I'm going to match them to the magical readathon prompts. Of course, I'm going to tell you what my profession is, which is quite predictable if you know me a little bit. So you'll see maybe some odd choices during my TBR board because I've done all the puzzling before I started filming this video. So I've done the roles, I've done the matching. So you may see some weird choices, but just hang on because it's all going to make sense at the end. Luckily the TBR board was quite kind, which helps with the matching of the prompts. Before though, where are all my books? Okay. So I do have two humongous book club reads. The first one I'm not going to read in August but in September. And that is Sarah Hobbs' book club read for August and September. That is Invisible Man by Rolf Ellison. I'm really excited to read this, but I'll definitely keep it for September. If you would like to join us, all the information on the Hobbs book club is in the description down below. I think many people will already start this in August because it's quite a chunker, especially for a classic. One book that I'm super nervous about but also excited is The Second Sex, and this is our read for June, July and August for Feminism She Wrote, and of course I kept it till the last month. This book is 800 pages of feminist non-fiction, and I've made a schedule of how much I want to read every few days so that I can read this. It didn't fit on the TBR board, so with the TBR board and with the magical readathon I'm really going to look for more comforting, relaxing, adventurous books while I'm working my way through this. At the end of the month, but I think early September, I will upload a review of this book like I've done with other books for Feminism She Wrote. So with that out of the way, let's do our first roll. Alright, let's do the first roll. It's a 2, 1, 2, which is historical fiction. The first roll was historical fiction, and I read a lot of historical fiction. I love it so much. I'm going to pick a recommendation from my dear friend Sarah from Sarah's Perusals. She has been loving this series and I bought it on Kindle quite a while ago, so I'm going to read. Here we go. Wait, it's a long title. The Wisteria Society for Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. I think this is historical kind of romance, or maybe not that romantic, but it is set in the Victorian era and it is about lady pirates, lady thieves, and I think we follow a main character who I don't really know what she's going to do. I think a lot of people don't really say much about the plot because it can be a bit spoilery, but the setting of this sounds so much fun. And it's been a while, I think, since I read historical fiction set in the Victorian era. I usually read a lot of Regency, which I really love, or even earlier I've been reading lately, like The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. So I'm very excited to go back into the Victorian era. I'll read this on my Kindle. It seems like a lot of fun. A lot of adventure, so that's gonna be great. Roll number 2. It's a 3. 1, 2, 3 is a TBR card. Pick from wishlist. Oh my gosh, for my birthday month, how fun. Roll number 2 was a TBR card, and wait, where did I leave my TBR cards? I got my TBR cards again. I got this one, which is pick from wishlist, which what a wonderful prompt. For this one I picked a book again that I'm later going to match with a magical readathon, but also I really want to read. That is The Adventures of Amina Al-Siravi by Shannon Chakraborty. I've been wanting to read different things from this author, but this is an adult pirate story about a middle-aged woman as a main character, and I think she is actually retired as a pirate and then goes back for one last assignment. When it comes to fantasy, I very much prefer adult fantasy and adult characters. The older the character, the better, basically, for me. So I'm really excited for this one. It's been on my wish list since I kind of heard people talk about it. I don't know if I will purchase the physical copy or if I will purchase the audiobook. I really like fantasy through audiobooks, so kind of depending on the other reads, how I'm going to read those. But maybe if I'm at the bookstore and I see a pretty edition of this one, which it definitely has, I'll pick it up. Roll number 3. It's a 3. 1, 2, 3, which is a contemporary with a TBR card. And that one is a booktube rack. Roll number 3 was a genre tale, a contemporary with a TBR card. And that TBR card was booktube rack. I had a few options for this, but I decided to pick up a book that just everyone is talking about. But specifically I've heard What Victoria Read talk about it. Book Rose mentioned it in her magical readathon recommendation video. And This Story Ain't Over also mentioned it. And that is Yellowface Face by R.F. Kuang, who's usually a fantasy writer, but this is about, I think, a writer who steals a manuscript from another writer, which sounds like okay-ish to me, but then I heard all these people talk about this book who seem to absolutely love it, so I thought I would give it a go. I'm going to listen to the audiobook, but maybe again, if I like it, I will purchase the physical copy. But yeah, this one is definitely a contemporary that so many people have recommended, so it seemed perfect for this prompt. Roll number 4 is a one which is Pet Pig. Oh my gosh, so adorable. Roll number 4 was Pet Pig, and I decided to pick a few books that match magical readathon prompts that are hard to fulfill. I don't own all of these books physically, so I used just some paper. This one, The Adventures of Amina Ansirafi, which I already picked, but again, like I said, this is a bit of a mess, which clearly they did not pick. The Dog of the North, which is a book that was longlisted for the Women's Prize, and that is supposed to be quite a lot of fun, really funny, which I'm really up for, especially with like the big book club reads. Jane Austen Book Club by Karen Joy Fowler, which I bought a while ago and I really want to read. And then finally a book I also really want to get to, but I cannot make time for it because it's such a chunker. That is The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. So here's the clip of the cats picking one of these books. Okay. Max! Max! Oh, we have Bella. There are treats on the floor, Bella. Honestly? Okay, just the first one then. Okay, it's a Jane Austen book club. So the cats picked the Jane Austen book club, which I'm really happy about. I'm going to have such a great weekend just sitting down and reading this. I've seen the film multiple times. It is about a group of women who have a book club and go to read Jane Austen together, but simultaneously their lives are somehow interwoven with Jane Austen's novels. So we have an Emma, we have a Persuasion, we have a Lizzie Bennet, we have everyone, all the main characters. It's so lovely. At least the film is so lovely. And I've heard great things about the book as well. So thank you, my darling pets, for picking this book for me. Rule number 5 is a 3. 1, 2, 3, which is a fantasy. Rule number 5 was a genre tile, and this was fantasy. I don't have a lot of unread fantasy on my shelves, but I did want to pick one for my physical TBR. So I'm going to pick one that is not that big to give myself a break, I guess. And that is Gods of Jade and Shadow. I picked this one up last year. I've heard mixed things about it, but it's a Finn novel. I think it is a YA and it's kind of interwoven with myth, which is always something I seem to really enjoy. It's set in the Jazz Age and we follow someone who is a big dreamer, and then she accidentally frees an ancient Mayan god of death who offers her a deal. It like has all those buzzwords for me, except for that it is YA, but I can enjoy a YA now and then. So we'll see. I own it, so I better read it. Rule number 6 is a 2. 1, 2, which is a classic or a book that's at least 100 years old. Roll number 6 and the last roll was a book that's at least 100 years old, and this I really reserve for classics. I thought I would pick up another Shakespeare. Most of the immediate classics on my TBR are not actually 100 years old. Just picked up the next one that I own physically, and that is The Merchant of Venice. It's supposed to be kind of in between a drama and a comedy. A lot of people say that they find it very dark for a comedy, and I do enjoy a dark comedy. We follow, of course, the Merchant of Venice, which is our main character, wishes to help his friend get money to impress a rich heiress, but he is forced to borrow the sum from a cynical, abused moneylender. I can see how this is funny and both very dark at the same time. I usually read these in one sitting with the audiobook on to get the full theater experience, kind of. So yeah, this seems like a great classic to combine with all these other reads. Okay, so we have our reads for the TBR board. Let's pick them up. Only 3 of them I own physically, and the other 3 I either have on my Kindle or I'm going to listen to the audiobook. So funnily enough, I have 5 books to read for the Magical Readathon to complete my occupation, which is a craft mage. If you've seen my vlogs, you know why. I love crafting. I love decor, like you can see. I'm not a minimalist. I love embroidery. I love baking. Basically, I love anything craft-like. I'm willing to try anything craft-like. Back in April, I picked this one, and now I'm going to read for the prompts for that calling for the autumn equinox. So the prompts I need to do are first inscription, I need to get a Q, and I need to get a D in artificery. So that means I have 5 prompts. So let's start with inscription. For an ordinary, I need to have a book that is on the end of the year TBR. I've mentioned a few books I want to read in my mid-year freakout tag, and one of those books was Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. So that one I'm going to read for that prompt, which is great. And then the second one, so Q, is a shield on the cover, and this was Let me tell you how difficult this was. That is why I had Return of the King as an option, because of course we have a lot of knights. Few of them have shields, so that could have worked. But I think, I looked really closely and I think the cover of The Adventures of Amira al-Sirafi has a shield on the cover. I first thought it might be a compass, but then I saw the two swords at the top, which I think kind of indicates a shield, like something you would put on your back. So I'm going to make this a shield, because then it works for the prompt. Let me know if you agree with me. So that is for inscription, and then for artificery, ordinary, I need a gemstone on the cover or in the title. Of course I can use this one because it has jade in the title, very easy. And then an adventure book, I think The Wisteria Society for Lady Scoundrels, I got it right, is very much an adventure book, so I got that one down as well. And for a pet on the cover, which again was quite difficult, combining them with books for TBR board, we've got a tiny little dog. I first thought it might be a purse, but then I saw it had a leash. So this very much is a dog. So I've been able to match everything with magical readathon prompt, which was very intentional. I didn't just do it right now. I did it before I started filming. The only book that I am going to read only for TBR board is of course The Merchant of Venice. And of course I have the second sex for Feminism She Wrote. I will say I might take some of these books into September because I've just done 30 books in 30 days. So I don't know how much I'm gonna want to read in August, and I'm also taking a little break from making videos this month. So we'll see. I'm going to take all the time I want and need. I'm very excited for all of these books because most of them just scream fun, which I'm very much up for. So this is my TBR, including of course digital reads. If you've read any of these books and have some opinions on them, I would love to know what you thought. For now, I hope you have a lovely, lovely day or evening, and I hope to see you in another video. Doei!